safunola with whatever we do. Hale yi demuñu school ñepp xam ne nekkul lu cool ñepp a ngi ragal a génn ñepp xam ne nekkul lu cool ibuloke no moto ni beti sola ibuloke dato ni betoto
Bege Congo
Lamin
na
Lamin te jibe norin te ñamen Lamin
kabana wulo
kono ñinta mo Lamin
pa bi lenki
muna ngata afamole
hayna
ngata Ngoto le Fabrama
Mingi Baba nyola
No ngoto le Fabrama
Namu jumara kan kuma diten
Fabrama
jumara mu
ndele bare muso
Nunda mana
kata
jamani bere
lindo ko
jamani
bari ngoto man kontande
bari jamani fana na ramu man kontan
ngoto minaka ngala min je fon filitala Lamin jibe nori nyaala
Lamin ila siran sama ne benki yala so tol sayni no ko ngol ko momo
ngoto
nam
itedinte yalo ne Lamin hakkilo diata bake karambu ngoto anu santen ministry ko di ngole si suko na amanke ko do holi
si bitun
bagona de
ala ni ko kede namo balo
ala na ko na karta bulo be dam ala ni je
ngoto
nam
ngoto mon kontan feren
jamani mu ne keda
ifika Lamin ki wulo ko no nyintay mon ko do fete malo Lamin nyande sila la be la moy kala karango
jamani karamu be soron ne ko fasi ta wulo ko nako
baba
karambu wol ma ko ni ko karamu wol soron da amanke ko holiday lem ngoto dindi wonyanta sila la ala karango la moy yamen kamen fue man kontan andamande
alla nyin kombo courant adanda la kombo len do la jankara mol soron do kamen courant ma ra do la kombo e don do fana na karam mol soron je karam mol soron Lamin ada lo nyino la man tara fe na sokon ala mu nekela
Lamin ite foi de malon kon lesinol be ke kar radio to
nga fine
e ko yaadi mo Lamin
nga fine
ya mo na fonye
bi kabin mina kan ntambita nteri maning Fatu ndambite la sukol ala dinngol bebe siri be la moy ka
Fatou danso am fana tambira jele ni subala la ngaje dinngol be jet talanta nen kili waro e be seri jelet
sa Lamin farante ku kili ko keno la ba Lamin bita ka wulo ko no nyinta mo arami
amandara fenela
ite dine ko di man si yakari la sino la moy radio to e balon na
mo ne ka ke afende ba nyara ni alon
kelentel jikot
afende ba mo be ke
ite balon tel be jikritel ni man karambe ku kele yaje nata karana mbasa malaya ay tarije
par ñarande kombo courant ho findira kombo ide na rajede ni sonka bay ko Lamin manya tala wulo ko aru karam mo be so da fa nembe
ko to wole nati bayo ngalle ni Lamin kuntal kombo courant o ka fa me kombo courant asototal wala kinay ko e sisu kono bari ni ko e sisu kono be karangol dike la radio ni telel to hani tele masoto to nyaay man tele soto la bongo bar radio be bulen koto batiri sanga ay si ay alamo
sa do kala nyaadi
ko ta o bulaji
ado kala nyaadi
kamun ke nyaadi
radio abo la mo la be mo na falaje
ibe la karandirol kala jele
ti talle be radio ko men ka karandirol
ile subject ro baby jele baby jele
wala nan ka coco moy fa dan se wolya ngombe tambi ka nga dinni wolde be ikadum bu ngode ko kala
ma asototal de
Lamin mala be karawala de
bari laftalal ideal on ko inde every year second wala fourth
mo na ni ko di ha ko nde ko folle sinila ba ndele sinilo ne ba
mba foke en koto wole fango yen wulindi yalo famo keta bat ñu fanam bulata ko ko me yen nati jambi Lamin nyanta karana ndel be jiko be nyine ka ya bulay kara wulo kana ta kilar ya bambalo yo be bulaje koto dinni ngoy si ayala le sino la moy radio
wara ka munda karam mo man soro Lamin nyanta kara si so na radio
la sila le ayala le sino
dal ko korno ko smalo
kilar ya
mo be ngala ko mo sa mi do ni ko no kera
nengi bruzo
am le ko la da baro sa no radio ba no bari woro radio ni abe je le baro ngamra do man dembe buljan dala nyara nyara woro mo ko fendi mo la Lamin tayra baro sa
bara te ku folo ajibe nori nya Lamin tamete ku
teku
bari ko do famo ke
imagine nani nyambol si zol le keje kisigi man si zol no le kabun ka nyoma bari nyambu kilo ni manya na kafinde ni nambe ko zol la ga ni nambe ko zol la ga
ngalle limbeta de be nyambo do dilanna
nyara ni ko rin fennat nyara nata
bari famo ke da
ngata bungono tambi bungono nyara ngando ko fele ko ke e baru nganda ni pelo la ndija
iyo awa dar la
bungono bismillah bisu diara
pendulala ye fongo tanka sina dolu tanka koro ta koro
Hello, viewers and listeners. I am Mustafa Dauda again, here to continue with the economic lesson from where we stopped last. If you can remember, I gave you an assignment to look at, which is just showing on the screen. That is the demand function which was given to you as QD as equal to 21 minus 3P, and you were given a table to complete, a demand schedule to complete. And in the demand schedule, you have the prices which were on top, and the prices were in dollars, and you have the quantity demanded. Which were in kilograms, kg. So you were given the different prices, and you were to calculate the values or the figures. You were given a price of 0 to 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you were to use this function to complete this demand schedule. Of course, all you do is to substitute P in this equation. So if you say at $0, QD will be equals to what? 21 minus 3 into 0, and that gives you 21 minus 0, which is equals to 21 kg. So that gives you 21 here. At $1, QD will be equals to 21 minus 3 into 1, and that gives you 21 minus 3, and that gives us what? 18. So we have 18 here. The same at $2, QD will be equals to what? 21 minus 3 into 2, which is 21 minus 3 times 2, which is 6, and that will give us what? That is 21 minus 6. Good. Now times, we expect students also to contribute. At $3, QD will be equals to 21 minus 3 into 3. That is 21 minus 9. That will give us, I guess, 12. Then at $4, QD will give us 21 minus 3 into 4. That's 21 minus 12. So that gives us, is it 9? Yeah. And here gives us, yeah, 9. If we progress, so at $5, QD will be equals to what? 21 minus 3 times 5. That's 21 minus 15, and that should give us 6. And at $6, QD will be equals to 21 minus 3 into 6. That's 21 minus 18, and that gives us 3. So we've completed the schedule as it was given to you. And then you were expected to draw the graph. Using the same demand schedule, you were expected to draw the demand curve. If we are to draw the curve, we have our X and Y axis, and here will be the price, Y axis, and the answer is in dollars, and here is the quantity demanded. So equal intervals, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the quantities demanded from 3 to 21. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21. So, of course, at 0, our quantity demanded is 21. So we'll start from there. That's 0, 21. At $1, the quantity demanded is 18. That's it. At $2, the quantity demanded is 15. Put an X using your ruler and your graph sheet. At $3, the quantity demanded is 12. And at $4, the quantity demanded is 9. And at $5, the quantity demanded is 6. And at $6, the quantity demanded is 3. So if you connect all these points, you have the normal demand curve. And that is what you expected to have done. Now the next question was to outline 3 factors affecting demand. Factors affecting demand, you may talk about price of the good, price of the good. Now you can explain it. If the price is high, people buy less, and if the price is low, people buy more. If the price of the good, of course, is high, people tend to buy less. Now we also talk about income of consumer. We've explained that already in our last class, of course you know. We also talk about population of consumers. We talk about advertising. We talk about taste and what? Fashion. Etc. So you only expected to give 3 factors affecting demand. So I guess those who did the assignment will be able to understand how it is actually done. Now, today, we are making progress. And we are continuing from where we stopped last, changes in demand and changes in what? Quantity demanded. We looked at the factors causing a change in quantity demanded. Can you remember what we said? Was the factors affecting a change in quantity demanded? We said it was the price of the good. How about a change in demand? We said it is other factors affecting demand, but not the what? Price. For example, if we look at a decrease in demand on the board, we indicated that factors such as low income of consumers, low population, poor advertising will cause the demand curve to shift to the left at the existing price of 3. Now, we are making progress to types of demand. We'll look at the types of what? Demand. Now, when we talk about types of demand, we are looking at different demand situations. We are looking at different demand situations. For example, competitive demand, joint or complementary demand, composite demand, and derived demand. That is what we're coming to look at. Types of demand. Under types of demand, let's start with joint or complementary demand. A joint or complementary demand is demand for two or more goods that are jointly needed to satisfy a want. In other words, it is the demand where two or more goods are so related that the demand for one necessitates the demand for the other. For example, tea and sugar. When you buy tea, you must buy what? Sugar. That is joint or complementary demand. Most times you buy bread, it must go with something, either mayonnaise or butter or a sauce. So joint demand, both commodities must be together to satisfy a want. Competitive or substitute demand. This demand for goods that are close substitutes, that are closely related. As I indicated in the last class, they are also known as alternative what? Goods. You can use one in the absence of what? The other. You either use mayonnaise or you use butter. You either use a taxi or a bus to move from one point to the other. So these are substitutes. Once you can use one in the absence of what? The other. The third type of demand is what? Composite demand. If a commodity can be put into several uses, then the demand is said to be composite. For example, the demand for sugar can be for more than one purpose. To either drink tea, to make your porridge, etc. Salt, electricity, all these have what? Composite what? Demand. Derived demand, you need the product not for its sake, but to do something else. For example, the demand for money is derived from the fact that you may need it to buy goods and what? Services. Why also would you need sand? It is to either build your house or to construct something else. So these are all derived, these are all products with derived what? Demand. Any questions? Of course, questions do come on those types of demand. Now we'll go to abnormal demand. Abnormal demand. Well, if something is not normal, then it's what? Abnormal demand. Abnormal demand. Now, what do we mean by abnormal demand? It is a demand pattern which does not abide by the normal law of demand and therefore deviates from the normal law by giving the reverse. That is, certain goods people can only buy more when the price is high, and when the price is low, they'll buy less of such goods. So you realize that for abnormal demand, most times the demand curve will slope what? Upwards. At a lower price, at P1 they buy less, and at a higher price, they tend to buy what? More. You see, so when price rises, that's the time people buy more of such goods. We'll later look at the different types of abnormal demand situation. Now, what are the causes? The first one is goods of ostentation. Goods that confer prestige. Gold chain. Other goods in the Gambia that we call ganila. When do you think people buy more of such goods? It is only when the price is what? High. Yes, Hummer. You talk about Jaguar. These are people who are rich and they want people to know that they are what? Rich. If, for example, somebody says, this is a gold chain and I'm selling it for $5, you'll be skeptical to buy it. Why? Because you expect the price to be what? High. You want to wear the gold chain for people to know that, yes, it is real gold. It does not fade. But if somebody says the gold chain is $15,000, for someone who wants prestige, who wants people to know that, yes, he is rich, he will buy it. So such goods are known as goods of ostentation. Yes, it distinguishes rich people from those who are middle or low income earners. So the higher the price of such goods, the more the demand. Expectation of future price change. If the price of goods is anticipated to increase in future, even when the price is high now, people still tend to buy what? More. Because they don't want to be affected by future price increase. The price of a product may be $5,000 and people believe that in 2 days' time it will be $5,500. Though the price is high now, they will not say they will buy less. That's the time they will even buy what? More. Because they don't want to be affected by future price increase. Equally, if the price of that product falls from $5,000 to $2,500, 50% fall in price, and they expect the price to further fall to $2,000, though the price is low now, from $5,000 to $2,500, they will prefer not to buy now. They will want to wait for the price to further fall to $2,000. You see, so even when the price has fallen from $5,000 to $2,500, demand remains low because they expect the price to further what? Fall. Then we also look at ignorance. If consumers are not aware of a close substitute that is cheaper somewhere, then they will tend to buy the other product which is expensive. But where they have adequate idea about the market and they know there may be cheaper substitutes, then certainly they will not buy that one at a higher price. But when they don't know, they're ignorant. So even when you charge at a higher price and they don't know about cheaper substitute, they tend to buy what? More. Gifting goods. These type of goods, clearly, the price of the good or service increases. Consumers tend to leave that normal good and go back to their inferior what? Goods. Because at that time, those are the goods that they can what? Afford. Then rare commodities, such as antiquities, drawings. Yeah, for these goods, if their prices increase, consumers tend to buy more of such goods. So this brings us to the end of abnormal demand situation. We may also have situations where we may have the elasticity of the product being perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic. Those are all abnormal demand situations. For example, you may have a demand curve that will slope upwards like that. People buy the same quantity even when price rises. This is perfectly inelastic. These are goods without perfect substitutes. We'll later look at these type of goods, but they are also abnormal demand situations. You also have perfectly what? Elastic. At the existing price, any quantity can be bought. But if the price increases, demand becomes what? Zero. Yes, this is perfectly elastic demand. It's also an abnormal demand situation. Yes, so this clearly indicates abnormal demand. Okay, we are making progress to supply. We continue into the concept of supply. The concept of supply, as you've seen indicated there. Supply. What is supply? The term supply refers to the quantity of a commodity which a producer is willing to offer for sale in the market at a given price over a period of time. So similarly, for the definition of supply, certain key factors we need to consider: quantity offered for sale. It's important because sometimes we have subsistent production. You produce for home consumption. That is not supply because you are not taking it to the market for what? For sale. So quantity offered for sale, and the price, and the what? And the time. So, of course, the supplier must have the willingness to offer such quantity. So these are certain key points we look at in the definition. We go to the law of supply. It also indicates that if all factors remain constant, the higher the price, the higher the quantity of a commodity that will be supplied, and the lower the price, the lower the quantity of a commodity that will be supplied. We're also holding factors what? Constant. As we said, we're dealing with human behavior. So as such, we must hold certain factors constant. For example, the producer has the needed factors of production to produce more in terms of land, labor, capital. We also consider that the price is favorable for him, so that if the price rises, he will produce more. But if the price is not favorable for him, even if the price is high and he thinks he cannot make profit, he will not produce more. So we have to hold those factors constant. That yes, he has the needed factors of production, the cost of materials are affordable to him, he can make the needed profit. Then the law will operate. Now, what the law is saying is that price and quantity supply have a positive relationship. That is, if the price of a product rises, the quantity supplied also what? Increases. So if price is positive, supply is also what? Positive. And if you multiply plus times plus, it will give you a positive relationship. If the price falls, the quantity supplied also what? Will fall. So if price is negative, supply is also what? Negative, which further still gives you a positive relationship. So price and quantity supply always move in the same direction. So that explains why the supply curve is always positive. We also look at the supply schedule as a table which shows the quantity supplied at various what? Prices. And there are two types of supply schedule: the individual supply schedule and the market what? Supply schedule. We've indicated that it is a table, as you can see on the board. Well, this is a supply schedule. We have the individual supply curve side by side with the individual supply schedule. But as we said, it's a table. We'll see the prices in dollars and the quantity supplied. Now, what can you read from the relationship in the supply schedule? You realize that a lower price of 10 was supplied, but as price further increased to $100, the supplier was willing to bring more. These are producers. These are sellers. They are motivated by profit. So when the price is high, they know they make more profit, they bring more to the market for sale. The supply curve is a graphical representation of the supply schedule. It's a diagram that shows the quantities supplied at various prices. As you can see in the diagram, at 20, 10 was supplied. At $60, 20 was supplied, and as the price further increased to 80 and 100, so we also see the supply increasing from 30 to 40. We also have the market supply schedule, where it aggregates or adds all the individual supplies at various prices. A particular producer of chicken, Mr. Juve, will supply 10 at $20 each. Mr. Bar will supply 15 at $20 each. Mr. Jaju will supply 25. And the market supply at the price of 20 is what? 50. If you add across 10 plus 15 plus 25. At $60 each, Mr. Juve supplies 20, Mr. Bar 25, and Mr. Jaju will supply 35, making a total of 80. So, further down, you realize that as the price increases, the market supply also increases. We have the schedule there and also the market supply curve. The supply curve, if we are to describe it, as we said, it is positively sloped. And why do we say it is positively sloped? Because price and quantity supply move in the same what? Direction. It is different from the demand curve. Now, most times, most students tend to confuse the demand curve and the what? Supply curve. They will draw a demand curve which is negatively sloped from left to right, and at times title it as a supply curve. But as we've seen, this is negatively sloped, sloping from your left to your right, going downwards, indicating that when price is high, demand will be low. And when price falls, demand will increase to Q2. So this slope is what? Negative. But for supply curve, we are saying that it is positively sloped, slopes up upwards like that, because price and quantity supplied move in the same direction. So at P1, supply will be low, and as price increases to P2, we realize that supply also what? Increases to Q2. So this is positively sloped. The slope is positive. Students most times confuse the demand curve to mean the supply curve and the supply curve to mean the demand curve. So you have to put much effort on knowing the slopes of the curve. Because if you draw the wrong curve in an exam, it is wrong. It's going to be marked wrong. So please know that the supply curve is positively sloped, slopes upwards from your left to the right, and the demand curve slopes what? Downwards from left to right. And this is, the demand curve is negatively sloped and the supply curve is positively sloped. Now, who can tell me the reason why the demand curve is negatively sloped? Because price and quantity demanded move in opposite what? Direction. When price is low, demand is high. And when price is high, demand is what? Low. Why is the supply curve positively sloped? Because price and quantity supplied move in the same what? Direction. When price is high, supply is high. When price is low, producers or sellers will supply less. Now let's look at a worked example on the supply schedule. You're also giving an equation, QS as equals to 10 plus 2P, when QS is the quantity supplied and P the price. And you're asked to calculate the quantity supplied at various prices of 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, how would you go about doing that? QS equals to 10 plus 2P. And you have prices as 4, 5, 6, and 7. All you do is to substitute the prices in the equation given. Now let's look at the solution. For example, when price is $4, supply will become 10 plus 2 into 4. That's 10 plus 2 times 4, which is 8, and that gives us 18 kg. At the price of $5, it is 10 plus 2 into 5, that's 10 plus 2 times 5, which is 10 plus 10, and that gives us 20 kg. The price further increased to $6, and when you substitute it, you get 22 kg. And at the price of $7, when you substitute it, you get an answer which is 10 plus 2 times 7, which is 14, and that gives you 14 kg. Now we'll introduce the factors affecting supply, but we'll also further continue from there for our next class. Let's look at some of the factors affecting supply. Let's look at some of the factors affecting supply. Of course, we know what will make suppliers bring more to the market or less. And we know the first factor is basically the price of the good. Price of the good. We are looking at factors affecting supply. Or determinants of what? Supply. Of course, we know the law of supply, everything remaining the same. When the price is high, they will supply more to the market. When the price is low, they will supply less to the market. So 2 ways you explain them. What causes supply to increase? What causes supply to fall? We also look at cost of production. Cost of production. That is the price of your factors of what? Production. The cost. The price of land, labor, capital, your machines will determine whether you produce more or less. If your cost of production is low, then you tend to produce more because you know you can afford more materials. But if the price of the factors of production are high, there is inflation, producers will supply less. Level of technology. If we can afford technology, then machinery, especially, then supply will increase. A farmer using the traditional tools of hoes and cutlasses will produce less compared to the one using modern mechanized farming like tractors, harvesters, will produce more. So if you adopt modern technology, then you tend to produce more. But if you use crude tools, your supply will be low in agriculture. We also have forces of nature or weather. Forces of nature for agricultural goods. Of course, we have good sunshine in the Gambia, so the supply of tourists would increase. But if, for example, we had a very terrible weather, few tourists will come. If it's a farmer, he has good rainfall, sunshine, he will produce more. But if the forces of nature, let's say there is drought, he will produce what? Less. The number of producers is another factor. The number of producers. If you have more producers, supply will be high. But if there are few producers, then supply will be low. Taxation. If taxes are high, it increases cost of production. So therefore, they will supply less. But where there are subsidies, that is, government gives them money or encourages them to either produce more such subsidies will also cause supply to what? Increase. So these are some of the factors that affect supply. In our next class, we'll be looking at a change in supply and a change in quantity supplied. So for a reading assignment, I want you to read to be able to distinguish between a change in quantity supplied and a change in supply. And then we'll look at the types of supply and the abnormal supply curve, or the backward bending supply curve. We'll look at those topics in our next presentation. Thank you for listening, and thank you, viewers.